In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another BG-Cast Wednesday live podcast, a We Are So Back Wednesday. So some unfortunate news. My guest could not join me tonight, the nerd in charge, and it's okay, though. Completely legitimate reason. She is having a storm in her area, and a transformer blew out, and she has no power in her house. So she unfortunately can't come on. So, Jen, no big deal. It's all good. I completely understand things happen. I'm looking forward to our conversation on August 6th. That's going to be great. And unfortunately, Sarah the Alchemist rescheduled for our Monday show. I'm waiting for her assistant, Tracy, to get back to me with a new date. But she will be on Transcending Ascension show on August 4th. So if you want to check her out on Diana's show, head on over there on that date. But nonetheless, I want to throw out some love to the chat. Anyways, we got Michelle here. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We got Spinja, and we got Don, and we got Diana herself. Thanks, guys, for being here. I really appreciate it. You know what's interesting, guys, is we're doing a solo show tonight. And for those of you who have been with me since the beginning, you know that's how this channel started. We started with solo shows, me breaking down certain esoteric topics, different occult topics as well, trying to kind of give everybody a little bit more of an understanding of how these things work on a deeper level. So I'm actually really excited for this show tonight. I'm kind of excited it's just going to be you and I. And we are going to be breaking down Metaphysical Anatomy 101. And I'm going to get a little bit into what that means, but there's a few things I want to kind of bring to the forefront first. And the first one is understanding the kingdom of God is within you and without you. And we've seen this quote quite a bit in our spiritual evolution, especially if you're a Christian, but all of us in our spiritual evolution, you know, we've entered the Bible. We've looked at the Bible. Shoot, I've done 4 shows on the Bible, and I run Church of True Christ with Diana and Don in the chat on Sundays. So this is something we're going to kind of touch base on just for a second. So what does this mean? That means everything is the divine. Everything inside of you and everything on the outside of you is the divine. That's something that is something to be held and cherished, in my opinion. You know, we are very special beings as humans. You know, we are seated as the divine within us, and our total experience overall is divine in and of itself as well. And this is where this quote kind of comes into play as also. Know thyself and you will know the divine. So these two quotes kind of go hand in hand. They're kind of interchangeable. You know, understanding the kingdom of God is within you and without you. And know thyself and you will know the divine. And excuse me, the last one I want to bring up here. The body is a temple of spirit and a mirror of the soul's evolution. That's something a quote I kind of made myself, when I was planning this show out. This show was originally planned out actually like 2 months ago. And I was kind of keeping it on the back end, in case something like this happened. But this is something we're going to dive into, and everybody should definitely take a look at this. The body is a temple of spirit and a mirror of the soul's evolution. So that's just something I wanted to throw in there real quick. So, guys, let me just break it off with this. Okay, you guys know how big I am on symbolism. We did a show back in season 2 called The Symbolic Lens, where I instructed you on how to learn to see your world through this symbolic lens and kind of understand the messages that the divine is sending you on a daily basis, all of the time. And one of the biggest things I've even said is to open yourselves to how this communication happens. Well, yes, you will get literal communication from the divine. A lot of the time, the communication comes out symbolically. You know, you're going to have these symbolic instances where you have these emotions. And I actually posted something on X the other day that says sensation equals information. So when you know sensation equals information, this is another way of looking through your world through a symbolic lens. But nonetheless, we talked about on the external experience. Let's talk about our internal experience as well when it comes to this symbolism. You know, and this is one of the biggest things that I think is overlooked in a lot of these circles, and especially in our community, that we have this divine symbolism encoded within our bodies. And this is a beautiful thing when you kind of look at it from this objective point of view, and you're looking at, it's like, man, I mean, we have 144,000 all over us. You know, we have the number 12 all over us. You know, we have the number 33 all within us, you know, and we even have symbolism in our pelvis that correlates directly to one of the Hindu deities, Ganesha. So this is something that I'm going to dive into right away, because this is actually one of my favorite topics, because this is going to show you that if you know yourself, that you will know the divine, and it's going to show you how the symbolism within us actually ties into the symbolism of our perceived external experience, and how it is all one. And we're going to wrap it up like that in the end. So the first thing we're going to bring up tonight is the 144,000. Now, we've heard many different instances of the 144,000. You know, if you look at it in the Bible from the biblical aspect, from the literal format, it's showing you that these are the people that are going to ascend to God. But there's actually more to the story if you look at it just a little bit deeper. Now, we're going to talk about the nadis, because in our body, we have 144,000 nadis. We have three major ones, but if we're talking about all of the corresponding nadis that we have 72,000 on the masculine side, on our masculine energy side of our body, and we have 72,000 on the feminine side of our body. So when you take those two together, we get the number 144,000. So let's dive into this. And we also have the symbolism of the 144,000 actually in a different place on our body as well. It's actually located in our subtle body, the crown chakra. But I'm going to get into that second. But first, let's talk about the nadis. What are they? I mean, you guys have heard me, you know, for a while now, be a spokesperson for Kundalini Yoga. And in Kundalini Yoga, we work with the nadis. That's what we do. You know, this is how we utilize our Kundalini energy. We bring it through these nadis, this system that we have in our body, and we try to ignite and illuminate all of these nadis so we can complete our great work, our subtle body, and continue to move forward in our spiritual evolution. So we have the nadis, meaning, definition, types, and use. And we're going to just touch lightly on this so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So there are thousands of invisible energy channels that run through our bodies carrying prana, the life force energy that sustains, supports, and nourishes our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. These channels, known as nadis, flow through our body like rivers of energy, interconnecting and nourishing every cell and organ within us. Among these countless nadis, there are three primary pathways that play a significant role in the circulation of prana. We got Ida, Pingala, and Shushma nadis, which are the three major nadis that I was actually showing you guys before. And this right here it's worth its weight in gold, guys, because I did a show back in season 2 breaking down the existence of the subtle body. Okay, and what is your subtle body? It is your energy body. It's where your chakra system is located. It's where these nadis are located. And we went through we went through an NIH study uh, that showcased that this meridian system does indeed exist in our body. Now, of course, as we know with NIH studies, they're going to tell you the results are inconclusive. They're going to tell you that we don't know if this exists, but based on the photos that we saw in the study and them highlighting these meridian points in our body, we can kind of bet that this is a real thing, at least in my eyes. So yes, thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. Yeah. So nonetheless, let's kind of dive in just a little bit more here on what they are. I'm not going to, like I said, guys, for those of you who are first just joining me for a solo show, I don't go through the whole article. I don't want to bore you guys. I just kind of highlight the key points. But if you are interested in doing the reading yourself, of course, I have supplied the links to the bottom of the description of both the Rumble and the YouTube videos if you want to kind of read up on this yourself a little bit more. So nonetheless, let's get started. Oh, my computer just decided it wanted to be interesting. Man, today's been a day, but nonetheless, let's keep going. What are nadis? So in Sanskrit, nadi means stream, tube, or pipe. In ancient yoga and Ayurvedic traditions, practitioners believe that there are thousands of nadis or subtle energy channels traveling throughout the physical body. They are not visible to the naked eye, yet run alongside the nerves, blood vessels, and other anatomical structures. Their primary function is to carry prana, life force energy throughout the body. These subtle channels can be thought of as the highways through which prana flows, ensuring the vitality and balance of our physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So one thing I've talked about on this show a lot, okay? So yeah, definitely Spinja. Jay and I are very similar from what Don tells me. I'm like the American version of Jay. Except he's more into the Qigong. I'm more into the Kundalini yoga, but no, the Qigong does work the nadis itself too. So it is another form of internal alchemy, you know, and that's the cool thing about this. There's many different types of internal alchemy that you can do. And when you do this, you know, you actually activate these subtle energy channels in the body. And let me take a minute to scroll up the comments. I know I missed some things. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely check it out. I have the links in the description. And just a shout out to everybody who's in there. Thanks for being here tonight. But nonetheless, let's kind of go just a little bit further on this. And then we're going to start diving into the crown chakra and how it potentially has 144,000 lotus petals as well. And I actually have an image we're going to bring up and we're kind of talk about when it comes to this topic. So nonetheless, let's keep on rolling here. So the significance of the nadis and the chakras, we're going to kind of get into this. So we have the nadis and chakras are interconnected and mutually influence each other. Chakras are powerful energy centers in our subtle body that are located at specific points on the central energy channel. The Ida and Pingala channels intersect, link, and interact with the lower six chakras, creating a complex network of energy flow throughout our being. When the nadis are clear and the flow of prana is unobstructed, the chakras can function optimally. And this is why internal alchemy is important, guys. I mean, I'm not just sitting here going off about Kundalini yoga, even Qigong. I still do Qigong before I do boxing. It's part of my warm up, you know, because it activates that energy body. It activates it in a little bit of a different way, but it still is activating that. And of course, you know, guys, one of the biggest things I've spoken about on this channel is one of the paradigms I try to smash from the old way is that the spirit and that the spiritual and the physical are separate. They're not. We know that the spiritual is of permanence, the physical is of temporary, and the physical is a shadow of the spiritual realm. So with that being said, understand that your subtle body is a very real thing, and it's a great thing to keep it in balance. And if you continue to do this internal alchemy and you continue to balance this aspect of yourself, then what you're going to do is you're going to activate these nadis and you're going to illuminate these nadis. And let's kind of dive into this a little bit deeper when it comes to how many nadis that we have. So let's scroll on down here. How many nadis are in the body? So they say 72,000. And there are texts that say there's 350,000, but we know that there are 72,000 major ones on the masculine side of the body and 72,000 major ones on the feminine side of the body. So we get 144,000. But there are other texts like the Shiva Samhita that do mention it having potentially more. But this is where this symbolism, divine symbolism, ties in. Now, there are 14 primary nadis believed to have the most significant impact on our spiritual and physical well-being. The chart below summarizes the names of these nadis. So I'm not going to get too deep into this tonight because, man, we could really do our own show on the nadis themselves. we we really could. And so we have here, we got a couple of comments in the chat. Let me pull them up here. So we have Spinja. I want to do both yoga and qigong. It's so cool how it crosses over. I can see how both are essential. Spinja, you most certainly can, because I do. You know, there's something about the qigong diehards, though. Let me tell you this: the ones who are diehard qigong practitioners, they frown upon that. It's kind of funny, that they frown upon combining yoga and qigong. A lot of the elitist qigong practitioners are like, you should only be doing the esoteric yoga, which is another term for qigong. But you can do both, and I do find that they complement each other. 100% they do. So let's go ahead here and check out this other comment. Who counted them all? There's a lot of different information on this, Michelle, but I will say this: we have had this knowledge for quite some time, and it is just starting to come back into our remembrance. It's just starting to come back into our conscious sphere. So let's check out some of the other comments. So yes, other than that, guys, I'm going to leave the nadis behind for now. I don't want to dive too deep into these tonight. I did leave the article, but we could do a whole show on the nadis. And if you guys want something like that down the line, just let me know. So nonetheless, let me just get up here real fast and stop sharing this. So there's another batch of divine symbolism when it comes to our body too, and it has to do with the crown chakra. So when we're talking about the subtle body and the 7 major chakras, we know that the crown chakra is located on the top of the head. And a lot of you have heard me say this before, that there are thousands upon thousands of lotus petals on the crown chakra, and that is definitely showing you that there's thousands upon thousands of ways to connect with the divine. And that's why I think fundamentalism is a farce. Because if there's thousands upon thousands of ways to connect with the divine, this just showcases that your own unique way, your own grassroots spirituality, your own blue collar spirituality is the right way for you, and you should keep rolling with that. Don't feel the need to be a fundamentalist, because if the crown chakra is telling you there's thousands upon thousands of ways to connect with the divine, then there you go. What works for you works for you. So let's pull up this image I have saved. This is actually a very interesting image, and I'm going to go over this image because it kind of showcases exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's pull this up real fast. So let me get this shared up on here for you guys. Hopefully it'll let me share the image. It doesn't look like it's going to. Man, that's kind of lame. Okay, let me see if I can pull it up a different way. So let's see here. Up, here we go. Perfect. Boom. Got it. All right, guys. So as you can see here, we have the 144,000, and we have the chakras located here as well. So the book of Revelation. So before I get into this, before anybody gets their jammies all ruffled here, the Bible is in spiritual speak, okay? And I've done many episodes on the Bible here. There's a lot of parable and spiritual language that comes into play when you're reading these old books. Not everything is meant to be taken in a literal context. Of course, it does have its literal counterparts. And that's something I talked about in the symbolic lens back in season 2, that yes, while every symbolic aspect has a literal counterpart and every literal counterpart has its symbolic aspect, this is the way the universe works. It expresses itself through this way. It expresses itself in literal ways, and it expresses itself in symbolic ways. And there's intertwining that goes on there between these literal and symbolic instances. So let's kind of dive into this image for a sec, and then we're going to bring up a photo of the crown chakra. So we have the 144,000. The book of Revelation is all about the 7 chakras. It mentions the number 7 55 times. 7 churches, 7 letters, 7 spirits, 7 lamps, 7 stars, 7 seals, 7 horns, 7 eyes, 7 angels, 7 trumpets, 7 heads, 7 crowns, 7 plagues, 7 bowls, 7 hills, 7 kings, 7 visions, etc. But you guys get the point. There is the number 7 is mentioned quite a bit in the book of Revelation, and I was chatting with some people earlier about this as well. So the number 144,000 in the book of Revelation is also in regards to the 7 chakras. So what this means, guys, is because we have these 144,000 nadis that ultimately tie in with this subtle body system that contains our 7 chakras. And so this is all kind of tying together now. You see how this divine symbolism, it not only exists in our external experience, it exists within our bodies. So, not only does the 144,000 is in regards to the 7 chakras, when taken literally, it represents the exact number of souls that will ascend to God. And that's kind of what I touched base on in the beginning before we started talking about this topic, because if you are taking it in that literal sense, that's what it means. But if you're taking it in the what I would call the greater spiritual sense, you can see this symbolism start to emerge and how it correlates with the subtle body and the chakra system. So in Kundalini Yoga, they teach that each of the 7 chakras is a frequency of light energy that can easily get blocked by negative emotions, thoughts during the course of development. The symbol for the root chakra has 4 petals. The navel chakra has 6. The solar plexus chakra has 10. The heart chakra has 12. And the throat chakra has 16, which all of those equal 48. Now, the third eye chakra is represented by the number 96, yet it only has 2 petals. But yes, this is true, especially in yogic tradition. When you look at the Ajna chakra, the third eye chakra, it is represented by the number 96. And this is because it is 2 times as powerful as the 5 lower chakras, which add up to 48. The crown chakra is said to be 1,000 times more powerful than the lower 6 chakras. So when you add up the lower 6 chakras, you get 4 plus 6 plus 10 plus 12 plus 16 plus 96, 144. And then you times 144 by 1,000 to get the 144,000. Hence, when you relieve yourself from karmic debt, you will emit the highest frequency of light, and you will no longer have to return to samsara, this simulation. So nonetheless, guys, that is something that I wanted to show all of you to kind of like hammer this point down home a little bit harder. Let me catch up on some of the comments here. So we have, here we go. So we have one from Don real quick. Steven question. Is it 144,000 entire souls or soul fractals? Because we starseeds collectively make entire souls. Don, I think that if you're looking at it from the literal sense like that, I do think that that's a good question. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So let's go with this. In the biblical context, it does mean entire souls. However, you and I have both had this conversation, and we've had this conversation before with many other people on our panel, that when it comes to those who are truly awakened. Now, what do I mean truly awakened? I'm not saying that people are fake awakened. I'm talking about the individuals that have their head, their heart, and their hands 200% in this. Okay. And when we're talking about those individuals, we're very few and far between, it would seem. So, is it possible there's only 144,000 of us here, of these truly awakened individuals who have their head, their heart, and their hands completely 200% in this? It's very possible. I know we are all very spread out. And, of course, you're in Alberta. I'm here in Denver. All of our friends are all spread out. And, I know all of us are 200% in on this. So that's a good one, Don. I'm going to be real. I'm going to have to think on that. But it's very possible that there could be that few of us, who are truly in this the way that it is meant to be. So thanks for that question though, man. And we have here, Michelle, I should do a workshop for you guys. Most certainly. I would like to do a workshop for you guys. That would be awesome. If you guys would like that, leave a comment and let me know. So nonetheless, let's Spinja. Okay. Sorry about that. Cool, Spinja. Awesome. So nonetheless, guys, let's get to the next topic. So we kind of broke down the 144,000 and how that ties into our body. We have these 144,000 nadis, and we have the chakras add up to 144,000. And this is this divine symbolism that's encoded within us. So one of the things I'm going to say to you guys is next time you read a spiritual book, whether it be the Bible, whether it be the Kabbalion, whether it be any spiritual book of your choice, start to look at it through a symbolic lens. Don't take it in the literal context. And I guarantee you things are going to kind of start to add up for you when it comes down to this. So nonetheless, guys, let's get to the next topic, the 12 cranial nerves. So we know how important the number 12 is when it comes to our spiritual evolution. And then we look at these Christed figures of the past. We know that Christ is an energy. It's a consciousness. Christ has had many incarnations on this planet. There is the incarnation known as Yeshua or Jesus, who is the most famous incarnation of Christ. But there are other ones too. There was Mithra. There was Osiris. You have Ahura Mazda from Zoroastrianism. There was actually many different Christed figures that actually came into this existence and tried to liberate us and awaken us from this illusionary experience that we're having here, and understand that the spiritual is where we need to turn our eyes to and understand that that's our true nature. So we know all of these Christed figures had 12 disciples as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring up a photo of the 12 cranial nerves real quick, and we're going to kind of go over them. And then I have an article we're going to check out when it comes to this and their description. There's also a correlation between these 12 cranial nerves and the 12 zodiacs. And this is just an example of how our external experience is a mirror of our internal one. You guys have heard me say that time and time again. So let's go ahead and bring up this photo here of the 12 cranial nerves. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Yeah, guys, this is something I've been kind of looking forward to doing. I believe this is it. Let's check it out. Yes, here we go. Okay. So we have the 12 cranial nerves here. I'm going to kind of expand it just a little for everybody so we can see. But we have the comparison here. So we have the 12 cranial nerves being showcased in the seat of Christ, or the seat of the divine, which is our hypothalamus cavity, which is actually, if you can see my mouse, it's kind of located right here in the center. And then we are surrounded by these 12 cranial nerves. So as we can look over, of course, if we're going by the old ways of the moon calendar. There was 13 zodiac signs. There was Ophiuchus, which was the 13th zodiac sign. But of course, when it comes to the symbolism of the number 12, when it comes to spirituality and the esoteric, we know that the number 12 is actually quite a sacred number. And absolutely, Michelle, it is a fluid. There is a Christ oil. It is also called in Kundalini Yoga the sacred nectar. Then we're going to get to how that sacred nectar in the next section actually gets into your hypothalamus cavity. That's going to be the next one. So nonetheless, let's kind of dive into this just a little bit further. So we see that we have this comparison, and we have the 12 disciples of Christ here. And we see how this number 12 kind of radiates throughout this symbolism. So this is just kind of a photo you guys can kind of take a look at this and understand that, again, as much as I say this over and over again, sometimes I might repeat myself a lot, and I don't mean to, but guys, your internal existence is mirrored by your external one and vice versa. Okay, we see this symbol, how this divine symbolism ties down into our bodies. It ties down into the external experience. This is kind of a learning process for you guys to see how all is one. There technically is no true barrier between the internal and the external except the ego, the illusion of separation. So this is how it showcases itself, guys. This is how we can get a deeper look at our true nature and who we are, as beings here in this existence. Understanding that this divine symbolism that we experience in our external world is also encoded within us. Okay, and this is how we get to know our nature a little bit more. So we have Spinja here. I feel like this is going to answer more questions. A major player in my life has a brain tumor, which is wrapped around their 5th cranial nerve. Interesting. I bet this will explain why they behave the way they do. Oh, absolutely it will, Spinja. And nonetheless, let's kind of dive into this article I have where it breaks down exactly what these are. So let's take a look here. Let me pull it up for you guys, make sure I got the right one, because I have 2 on this. Boom, boom. So we have 12-fold harmony, unveiling the mystical connections between cranial nerves and spiritual symbolism. So the human body, a marvel of nature, is equipped with complex systems that sustain life and enable a plethora of functions. Among these, the 12 cranial nerves stand out for their crucial roles. These nerves, each with its own unique pathway and responsibility, emerge directly from the brain, specifically the brain stem, and are numbered 1 through 12. They govern a range of vital functions from sensory to motor, including vision, hearing, facial movements, taste, and even heart rate. So one of the things I'm going to tell you guys, we know how essential to exist in this realm our motor function is. We know how essential to exist in this realm our vision is. We know how essential our hearing is to existing in this realm. We know that facial movements, facial expression, are essential and as a form of communication with other beings in this realm. We know our taste is very important because, yes, we want to, of course, imbibe in the good food. And, we also, taste tells us what not to eat. If something doesn't taste good or taste strange, it's probably not a good thing to eat, right? I mean, we've kind of experienced this in our lives. Things that are poisonous, things that might kill us, normally don't taste very good. They have a burning sensation or they have some kind of numbing sensation when we eat them. So we know that taste is very important and integral to our experience here in third density. We need that. And even heart rate, of course, guys, the heart, the other brain, we need that to exist here too. So the proper functioning of these nerves is essential for our daily life, influencing everything from how we perceive the world around us to how we interact with it. And beyond the realms of biology and medicine, the number 12 carries profound significance in various spiritual and religious contexts. It's a number that resonates with historic and symbolic importance across cultures. In spirituality, the number 12 often symbolizes completeness or cosmic order. For instance, in Christianity, it's associated with the 12 apostles of Jesus. And also, guys, the other Christed individuals who did walk this earth also had 12 disciples. You look at Mithra, for instance, he had 12 followers. We see this as a constituent that is a numerical constituent that exists in all of our spiritual texts and all of our spiritual symbolism, because the number 12 is truly a sacred number. So, in astrology, the 12 zodiac signs form a complete cycle through the sky, embodying different energies and traits. In Judaism, the 12 tribes of Israel are pivotal in the historical and religious narrative. So, we're going to kind of go through a little bit of an overview of these cranial nerves, and then we're going to show their correlation to the zodiac. So, we have the olfactory nerve, that's for smell. We have the optic nerve, that's the vision. We have the oculomotor nerve. This controls the eye movements. We have the trochlear nerve, which is responsible for moving the eye downward and outward so we can have a complete field of vision. We have the trigeminal nerve, which is one of the largest cranial nerves. It's responsible for facial sensation and motor functions such as biting and chewing. And it actually has 3 branches. So we have another sacred number kind of showcasing itself here, 3. Okay, so this nerve, one of these 12 nerves, has 3 branches. We know how the Trinity, the number 3, is actually very sacred. So we can kind of place our bets on the fact that this is a very sacred space in our body because it also carries that other hint of divine symbolism, the number 3. So let's continue on. So we have the abducens nerve, and this nerve controls the lateral rectus muscle, which turns the eye outward away from the nose. We have the facial nerve. It controls facial expressions. And we know, guys, that facial expressions can be a form of communication. In fact, facial expressions, in my eyes, can actually thanks, Rochelle. I appreciate that. So facial expressions can actually kind of give way towards a type of telepathic communication. And I know all of you who are in partnerships or have significant others out there. You guys have looks you give each other that communicate a wide variety of things, and of course you guys might have these common looks that you give each other. And, but in some ways, this could be a form of telepathy. A look actually relays a larger message. The sensation equals information. So that's something I'm going to throw out there. So you can even say that facial expressions can kind of give way almost to a form of telepathy or a different kind of communication. Especially when it comes to those in partnerships who have some significant others or twins, people who are connected in that way. So facial expressions, yeah, definitely an important thing for existing in this realm, 100%. And we have the vestibular nerve. This nerve is responsible for hearing and balance. Of course, guys, we need hearing and balance to operate through there. We have the glossopharyngeal nerve. This nerve is involved in tasting, swallowing, and the gag reflex. We have the vagus nerve. Everybody knows about the vagus nerve, especially when we're trying to heal ourselves in the somatic sense. From the trauma that we have stored in our bodies from our past experiences. The vagus nerve is ultimately one we're going to work with a lot. It's one we're going to work with a lot. Michelle, I promise I will fill you in the best that I can while we're doing this. But the vagus nerve, actually, there are exercises you can do to release this nerve and some of the somatic effects of the trauma that you have had from this nerve. We do store a lot of our trauma in our fascia and in these nerves and in our subtle body. So working with your vagus nerve can actually, I know you are, and working with your vagus nerve can actually help you release this trauma. So that's something that I highly recommend when it comes to that. And then we have the accessory nerve. This controls the muscles used in head movement. Of course, very necessary for when it comes to this existence. And then we have the hypoglossal nerve. This nerve controls the movements of the tongue, which is crucial for speech and swallowing. Damage to this nerve can result in difficulties in speech and swallowing. We don't want that, guys, because we have to communicate while we're in this realm. We have to be able to eat also while we're in this realm, unless you train your body at some point to survive strictly off prana. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end on how you can do that. And yes, internal alchemy like Qigong and Kundalini Yoga are ways you can train your body to exist strictly off prana. So we have a comment from Dawn here. So I've heard dogs can control more facial muscle than wolves, i.e., eyebrows. They have evolved in order to better communicate with man. So, Don, let me tell you something. I don't know if you know this, and pit bulls do indeed have vocal cords. I got a kind of a thing for you. So, dogs are evolving, guys. Our animals are evolving. There are now dogs out there that know how to take a bus to get to certain locations. There was actually a documentary on this as well. There's this one dog. He goes to this certain bus stop every day. He sits there. He waits for the bus. The bus pulls up. He gets on the bus. Of course, I'm probably sure he rides for free because he's a dog and he's probably adorable. So he probably doesn't have to pay a bus fare. So he gets on he gets on the bus, and then he rides the bus to this specific stop every day, and he gets off. Yes, our dogs have very much so evolved beyond wolves when it comes to, I guess you could say, self-awareness and understanding that they are separate from the greater consciousness or the greater natural consciousness, the Maya of nature consciousness that they emanate from. So yes, dogs are evolving, man. They are getting smarter. They are being able to have a sense of self-awareness now, which I find absolutely completely cool. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a dog owner, just like I know all of you are in the chat. And to know that our dogs are getting smarter is just like such a cool thing to me. I actually really look forward to that. I want to see where it takes us in the future, so maybe the pets will have in another 20 years will actually know how to feed themselves. That would be something wild, but they don't have thumbs. So maybe if they have thumbs, we can make that happen. I don't know yet, but nonetheless, let's hop into so Trixie does yoga. Awesome. I did not know that. I'm sure she's really good at downward dog and upward dog. So, but yes, no, definitely, guys. So let's kind of get into the article where we compare the 12 cranial nerves to the zodiacs and their different functions. So let's pull this up real quick. All right, guys. The divine correlation of the 12 zodiac signs' cranial nerves, systems of the body, and cell salts. So, understanding the profound connection between the 12 zodiac signs, 12 cranial nerves, 12 systems of the body, and the 12 cell salts reveals an intricate design embedded in creation by the Elohim. You know how special that is to me, guys. And El Elyon, which, if you guys don't know who El Elyon is, it means the Most High, aka the Divine. The concept of as above, so below, as within, so without is the key to interpreting this divine creation, as it encapsulates the interconnectedness of the macrocosm and the microcosm. So, guys, when we hear macrocosm and microcosm, you are a microcosm. Existence is a macrocosm. So, as above, so below, as within, so without. The universe is similar, self-similar on many different scales. I mean, Don was bringing up fractals in the chat just a little bit ago, and the chat's cracking me up tonight. You guys are awesome. But Don was talking about fractals just a little bit ago. So we are a fractal of the whole. Ultimately, all of that information does exist within us. So nonetheless, let's keep going here. So we have the 12-fold design and creation, the zodiac signs, and the cranial nerves. So we have Aries, which is the head, the olfactory nerve. We have Taurus, which is the throat, the optic nerve. I'm a Taurus, and I have a vision for things. So that definitely makes a little bit of sense. We have Gemini, arms, the oculomotor nerve. We have Cancer, chest, the trochlear nerve. We have Leo, the trigeminal nerve, which actually is the one that has the trinity of nerves branching off of that. We have Virgo, the digestive system, the abducens nerve. We have Libra, the kidneys, the facial nerve. We have Scorpio, reproductive organs, the vestibulocochlear nerve. We have Sagittarius, the hips, the glossopharyngeal nerve. We have Capricorn, the bones, which is the vagus nerve. We have Aquarius, circulation, the accessory nerve. And then we have Pisces, the feet, the hypoglossal nerve. So this is how the 12 zodiacs actually correlate with these, and they have symbolism in these 12 nerves, these 12 major cranial nerves that we have. So the systems of the body the cell salts. So this is actually interesting. So I kind of want you guys to like kind of dive into this with me a little bit, because it really kind of ties in there, um, all of this divine symbolism that exists within us. So let's kind of keep diving in just a little bit further here. We got the skeletal system. We have calcium fluoride, the muscular system, calcium phosphate. And this makes a lot of sense, because we know the skeletal system uses a form of calcium. We know the muscular system actually uses a form of calcium to contract. This is where how the nervous system tells our muscular system to contract. We have the circulatory system, which is calcium sulfate. We have the nervous system, which is ferrum phosphate. If you guys don't know what that is, that's iron phosphate. And then we have the digestive system, which is kali muriaticum. And then we have the respiratory system, which is kali phosphate. The urinary system, which is kali sulfate. Notice that kali. Notice that symbolism there also, guys. Who is Kali in the Vedic lore? So we have endocrine system, magnesium phosphate. We have the reproductive system, natrum muriaticum. Natrum is sodium, guys. So that's why you see sodium under Na on the periodic table. That's because the actual chemical name for sodium is natrum. So that clears that up there too. And then we have the integumentary system, which is natrum phosphate. And then we have the immune system, which is natrum sulfate. And then we have the lymphatic system, which is silicia. So these are the salts of the body. And basically, I'm going to tie it off with this: as above, so below, the divine reflection. The ancient maxim, as above, so below, as within, so without, articulates the mirroring of cosmic and earthly realms. The Elohim's creation is a holographic universe where each part contains the whole, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all things. Isn't it pretty interesting, guys, how we have Jason? What's happening, man? Thanks for being here. And yeah, guys, that we see this interconnectedness, man, this divine symbolism play out in our physical bodies. All right. And this is something very interesting. So let's kind of take a little bit, take some of these comments here. We have from Michelle, Tauruses are good budgeters. I didn't used to be. I had to learn how to be one. I think that's because I'm a triple earth sign. So I do have a Virgo ascending, and I do believe it is a Sagittarius descending, if I'm correct. But yeah, I'm a triple earth sign. So there's some other things in play there. I used to be a shit budgeter, but I kind of learned I'm doing a lot better now. So we have Spinja. This is wild. I have been learning about natural law, and all of this is intertwined. We really have been held back without being taught the basics. Oh, 100%. I'll agree with you there wholeheartedly, because if this symbolism I'm talking about was common knowledge, I think people would be able to connect the dots on a deeper level. I mean, since this isn't exactly spoken about, in mainstream academic circles, obviously, this kind of falls under the radar. But, if we were shown this correlation as a collective, I guarantee you a lot more people would start connecting the dots and start to realize, like, hey, something is not being shown to us here. Something is not being told to us. So nonetheless, let's kind of keep going down here on the comments. And yeah, alrighty, guys. So for our next little bit of a breakdown, we have the number 33. Yes, of course, everybody knows the number 33, the 33rd degree Freemason. Now we have the 33 vertebra. So this is actually where I'm going to tie in the Christ oil on how to get it into your hypothalamus cavity, because your vertebra in your spinal column are actually the way to do that. So without the whatever I was going to say, let's dive into it. So you guys are funny here on the chat. So let me just make sure I've got the right page here. And I do have the actual image I'm going to pull up really quickly, though. So let me do that real quick. Let me hop on down here, get this image up. And unfortunately, that image is a little blurry. So let's kind of just go with the one on the website. So let's pull this up here. You guys are being awesome in the chat tonight. Thank you so much. So we have the 33 vertebra spiritual. Okay, so we have the 33 vertebra spiritual, unlocking the secrets of your spine's energetic power. So we have you ever felt this deep connection to your body, a sense of energy flowing through you? Many spiritual traditions associate the human spine with its 33 vertebra to a powerful energy conduit, a central pillar of life force. This post delves into the fascinating spiritual interpretations of the 33 vertebra, exploring their significance in various belief systems and how understanding them can contribute to a deeper sense of self and spiritual awakening. We'll unravel the symbolism, the energetic connections, and the practical applications of this knowledge for personal growth. So the one thing I'm going to throw in there, guys, I don't know if you remember my show with Emily Moyer, and we were talking about how technology that we have is actually mirroring stuff that exists in our human body. So a lot of the synthetic technology that you see outside of us that we utilize every single day in our everyday lives, it is mirroring our body. And so Emily and I were actually talking about how the Hadron Collider is actually a mirror of the human spinal cord. If you were to take the human spinal cord and bring it into a circle, you have a very similar thing. We almost have somewhat of a particle accelerator that's located in the back of our body. So this is very interesting, guys. And this is how it all kind of ties down. This is all kind of starting to come together now when it comes to our divine makeup on the inside of our bodies. So nonetheless, we have the 33 vertebra, a foundation of energy. The human spine, a marvel of engineering, is composed of 33 vertebra. This seemingly arbitrary number holds profound symbolic meaning in various spiritual contexts. It's not just a structural support, it's viewed as the central axis around which our physical and spiritual energy flows. This energy, often referred to as Kundalini energy in some traditions, is believed to be dormant at the base of the spine and can be awakened through specific practices. So one thing I'm going to say about this, guys, there's two camps when it comes to the mindset of Kundalini. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it. And honestly, man, you can take a look at some of the other technology out there. It does. It mirrors the synthetic technology we have does mirror a lot of the organic stuff we have within us. Just take a deeper dive on that. I'm telling you, you're going to see the correlation. It is very interesting. And I'm going to show you how it correlates here. I'm going to tie it all together in the end. And so nonetheless, guys, let's kind of keep diving into this a little bit more. And Jason, I hope you continue to keep your 33 vertebra. I don't want you to have 32. Hopefully that all works out for you, man. And so let's kind of keep going here. And we have the spine as a pathway to enlightenment. Now I remember what I was going to say. There's two camps in Kundalini, guys. People think you need to awaken your Kundalini, or your Kundalini is already there and you just have to realize it. And I'm in the camp of your Kundalini is already there and you just have to realize it. Remember, guys, our consciousness creates reality. If you're told you don't have something or you need to awaken something or vice versa, you're going to put that into your reality. So you already have everything. You're just remembering it, okay? That's the mentality you should take when it comes to this. Many spiritual paths see the spine as a pathway to enlightenment. Each vertebra is sometimes associated with a specific chakra, energy center, or stage of spiritual development. The journey up the spine from the base to the crown is metaphorically depicted as a process of spiritual ascension, a gradual unfolding of consciousness. The symbolic resonance, the number 33 itself carries a significant symbolic weight across different cultures and spiritual traditions, often associated with mastery, completion, and the highest levels of spiritual attainment. Some interpret it as the sum of the Trinity, 3 times 11, further reinforcing its spiritual significance. This adds another layer to the mystical interpretation of the 33 vertebra, suggesting a complete and integrated energetic system. And this is what we want, guys. We want a complete and integrated energetic system, don't we? Yes, definitely, Michelle. I'd like to see the Pinterest board for sure. So nonetheless, guys, this is where it's going to kind of tie it all together. I'm going to explain to you why the spinal cord is very much like a particle accelerator, or why a particle accelerator is very much like our spinal cord. The Kundalini Yoga and the spinal axis. In Kundalini Yoga, the spine is central. The Kundalini Yoga, the Kundalini energy, dormant at the base of the spine, is believed to rise through the chakras, leading to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. Practices like specific asanas, yoga postures, pranayama, breathing techniques, and meditation are designed to facilitate this upward flow of energy. So, Michelle in the audience was talking about, yes, the Mason, yes, Jason, the Masons have 33 degrees. And if there is 36, Michelle, that's interesting. I did not know about those extra 3 degrees. I'm going to have to pick your brain about that. But how this works, guys, okay. So, why the spinal cord is very similar to a particle accelerator. So, you have something in your spinal cord that's called cerebral spinal fluid. Now, the cerebral spinal fluid is the Christ oil. Okay, this is the sacred nectar. Okay, and in your cerebral spinal fluid, you have two major compounds. You have your endogenous NMDMT. I do believe there's a little bit of endogenous 5-MeO DMT in there as well, because our body does produce 5-MeO DMT naturally, just not in as large amounts as NMDMT. And then you have what are called your endogenous cannabinoids, your anandamides, and they exist in your cerebral spinal fluid. And when these compounds actually work together, you get a synergistic effect from them. So through these breathwork practices, and yes, Jason, I like 5-MeO a little bit more too. Trust me on that. And so when you take these practices like Kundalini Yoga, and what we do in Kundalini Yoga is we do something called the chakra locks. When we're doing these sets, and we end up locking Muladhara chakra, which is your root chakra. And how do we do that? There's no way to beat around the bush. You contract your taint, your anus, your genitals, and your navel all at once. That's how you do your root lock for the Muladhara chakra, your root chakra. And then you have, what we would call Uddiyana bond. So the root chakra is called Mula bond. And then you have Uddiyana bond, which actually works with the solar plexus, right? And then you have something called, then that works with your solar plexus chakra. And then you have something called Jalandhar bond, which is actually throat chakra lock. And you bring your chin down to your chest like this, and you lock your throat chakra. And then you have Ajna Drishti, which is where you stare up at your third eye. And I had to say it that way, Michelle. I'm sorry. There's no beating around the bush. That's how you do the root lock. And then you have, the Ajna Drishti, where you focus up at your third eye. And so when you're doing the breath work, and this is why a lot of the breath work videos I don't like, because they don't show you the chakra locks. And the chakra locks are actually the most important thing when it comes to getting that oil up your spine through that cavity into your hypothalamus cavity. So when you're doing the breath work and you go to inhale and you hold your breath and you lock your root chakra, you lock your solar plexus, you lock your throat, you stare up at your third eye, this engagement of the chakra locks actually moves that cerebral spinal fluid up your spinal column into your hypothalamus cavity. And this is how you get that sacred nectar or the Christ oil into your hypothalamus cavity. And this is the biggest thing. I mean, Wim Hof doesn't even do it in his breathwork videos. I've watched a lot of the DMT breathwork videos, and they don't include this. So Phil Barrow says to leave through your chakra portal, it's your sacral chakra. So essentially, you're going up your butt. I always get sacral and solar plexus mixed up, so I might have the wrong chakra. So that's actually root chakra you're talking about. Your sacral chakra, Svadhisthana chakra, is actually located just right behind your navel, and your solar plexus, which is your Manipura chakra, is actually located just above that, kind of like, I want to say like above the navel. It's different for a lot of people. And that's very interesting, Jason. Yes, you're supposed to do this. So this is why I don't like a lot of the DMT breathwork videos. This is why, because they don't include these locks. And at least from my experience, I've done the DMT breathwork without the locks, and I've done that with the locks. And I'm going to tell you, man, the locks make a world of difference when it comes to that happening. Yes, I can give directions for sure, Michelle. Let me hop back into this just for a sec. And so, yes, the spine is central, like they were saying. And then we even have, for all of you Qigong practitioners out there, we have the Taoism and the microcosm macrocosm connection. Taoism emphasizes the connection between the human body and the universe, the spine as the central axis of the body. It is seen as a microcosm reflecting the macrocosm, aligning the individual with the cosmic energy flow. And so we have practical applications, cultivating spinal energy. So honestly, guys, I'm going to tell you this also as well. Your spinal, yes, I can imagine that with the locks with Wim Hof breath work done. I'm sure it makes it magnitudes even better. And so as far as like your spine, guys, I'm going to say this: if you want to stay youthful and you want to stay looking young, make sure your spine's flexible. That is a key integral part in all of this. This is how important the spine is when it comes to our longevity and our vitality. And actually, even in Kundalini Yoga teachings, they talk about how a good indicator of good longevity is having a very flexible spine. Shock lock sounds like a trendy dance. I'll give you guys a step-by-step on how to do it at the end of the show because you guys asked. I will, I promise. And as I was saying too, guys, like, your spinal health is very integral. This shows you, like, if you have a flexible spine, most likely you are going to live a very long, healthy life. And there's many ways you can get your spine in good health and get it flexible. So nonetheless, let's kind of sum this up here on this. Yes, guys, this is the divine energy. We have this symbolism that exists within us, and we can see how this numerical symbolism that we see on the outside in our external experience, we actually have encoded in us. Okay, this is encoded in us through all of this. So, guys, there's actually one more thing I want to bring up too. Unfortunately, I have a couple of images I'm going to bring up before we kind of get to the closing statements of the show, and I'll teach you guys how to do the chakra locks. So I want to bring this up. This is just another example here on how we have this encoding, this metaphysical encoding in our body. So let me bring this up real fast. Boom, boom. So I actually posted this earlier today. So one of the things I'm going to show is this is actually a yogic pose. This is something called toes pose. And I'm going to tell you this, guys, out of all the yoga poses you can do, if you think like holding crow pose is a character builder, I'm sorry, guys, you don't know character builder till you hold toes pose for like 5 minutes. Okay, you don't know character building until you hold this exact pose for 5 minutes, because I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to do it for 5 minutes at first. You're going to have to work your way up to it. But as we can see here, in this right here, we have this metaphysical encoding. We know that our toes actually work with our pineal and our pituitary gland. And it actually works with the neck, the throat, the thyroids, and the parathyroid. So this is why in Kundalini Yoga, we do a lot of poses where we grab onto our big toe. And while we're doing this poses, and you got to build yourself up with it, Michelle. It is. I mean, I hold it for 5 minutes a day. It's not an easy thing to do. You got to work up with it. But as you in Kundalini Yoga, as I was saying, you have to. Yes, Don, that's the one Sam hates, and yes, she says it's torturous, and yes, Jason, this is almost very similar to that. But, in Kundalini yoga, we're holding our toes a lot. We have a lot of poses, especially when we're stretching our life nerve, which is the sciatic nerve in Kundalini yoga. We're holding on to our big toes. We want to stimulate that pineal gland. We want to stimulate the pituitary gland. This is where, we make our natural DMT. This is where we have this connection with the divine, the seed of the divine, and within ourselves. We want to activate this. And so that's why the toes are actually like a very important area for this. And, it's very interesting how this metaphysical encoding actually, and it's almost like a technology, almost like there's a technology that works with our body. It doesn't seem like a technology, when we think of it in what we would call the general terms of technology, but it is. There's a technology that coincides with our body that can keep us healthy and can get us elevated into these higher states of awareness, these higher states of consciousness. When it comes to elevating ourselves and growing in our spiritual evolution. So I just wanted to bring this up real quick. And there was one more I wanted to bring up. Unfortunately, I don't have it, but it is the Ganesh symbolism with our pelvis. So the Ganesh, we guys know the Vedic deity Ganesha. He is the elephant. And if you look at the human pelvis, right, and you hold a photo of Ganesh up to the human pelvis, you're going to see there's a very strange correlation between the head of Ganesh and the human pelvis. And that's because Ganesh actually represents the Muladhara chakra. It represents the root of our being. That is what the deity, represents. And if we look at what is in the pelvis, we do have Muladhara chakra, which is our root chakra at the base of our pelvis. So there's actually that Ganesha symbolism that actually exists in our bodies that showcases a very good correlation because, like I said, Ganesh is the symbolism for the root of our being. So we know the root chakra is in our pelvis, the root of our being is in our pelvis, and we see that correlation between Ganesh and his head actually looking very physically similar to our pelvis. So this is how this divine symbolism is encoded within us, guys. And before I get to showing you guys how to do the chakra locks while you're doing breath work, I'm going to sum it up with this. I'm going to say that learn to look at your world externally and internally through a symbolic lens. Symbolism, in my eyes, is the true language of the divine. It's the true language of this existence. And written and spoken language is secondary. You can convey a whole story with a symbol. You can't convey a whole story with one page. You can try, but it's not going to be that great of a story. So this is why I'm saying, guys, you need to start looking. You need to start looking through a symbolic lens in your world and see how this all ties together. Because, like I said in the beginning, if you know thyself, you will know the divine. All right, nonetheless, you guys want to know how to do the chakra locks for your breath work. Okay, I'm going to show you. I can't really show you some of them because I'm not taking off my pants and contracting anything on camera. My channels would get banned. But I'm going to kind of give you a verbatim. So when you're doing the breath work, right? And, when we do breath work, we have two kinds of holds. We have the hold on the inhalation where we inhale and we hold, right? And these locks can be done with both of these. And then we have the void hold where we exhale. And I'm going to show you guys, but in a PC way. But then you have the void hold on the exhale. It's when you exhale and then you hold your breath out. I'm gonna tell you, dude, the first year the first year I started doing void holds, they were hard for me, man. I'm not going to lie, but I'm pretty good at them now. You just got to work on them. I can hold my breath in as long as possible. But when it comes to exhaling and then holding my breath, it was always very uncomfortable for me. So it took some getting used to. But nonetheless, you can do these locks with a hold on an inhale or a void hold. but they're most commonly done with a is commonly done when you hold in on an inhale. So you're going to go inhale, and what you're going to do, and like I said, I can't beat around the bush with this, guys. There's no other way to describe how to do the root lock. You're going to contract your taint, your anus, your genitals, and your navel all at once. And women, you have your Kegels. It's very similar to that. You're going to freaking contract your Kegels, your anus, your genitals, and your navel all at once. And that is root lock. And you can practice it by sitting in meditation, and you could hold it for 5 seconds, release. Hold it for 5 seconds, release. I'm not going to show you that I'm doing it. You're just going to know that I'm doing it. And you can hold it for 5 seconds, release, and get used to that feeling, right? And that is what's known as root lock. And then we have Uddiyana Band, which is like a solar plexus lock. And yes, Don, thank you. Box breathing is a good practice for void holds. Just increase the hold a bit by bit. Good stuff, man. Thank you for throwing that in there for anybody who wants to work on their void holds. But then you have Uddiyana Band, which is kind of like a solar plexus lock. So what you're going to do, so you already have root lock down, and you're going to kind of suck your diaphragm in and up. That's Uddiyana Band. So like imagine like you're sucking your diaphragm in and up. So that's your solar plexus lock. So there you have two of the locks now. Now you have root lock, which is contracting your junk, your anus, your genitals, your taint, your navel. And then you have solar plexus lock, Uddiyana Bandha, which is, kind of bringing your diaphragm in and up. And now you have Jalandhar Band or throat lock. With throat lock's probably one of the easiest out of this. You just bring your chin to your chest. That's how you lock in the energy in your throat chakra. And then your fourth lock, which is your Ajna Drishti, you're going to be gazing up at your third eye. Very simple to do. And actually, if you do that, you can almost feel it kind of like contract a little bit there in the center of your head. So when you go to do your breath work and you go into either an inhale hold or you're doing a void hold, you are going to hold all 4 of these locks when you do this. And I guarantee you, if you hold all 4 of these locks successfully when you're doing your breath work, you are going to get that oil into your hypothalamus cavity. You're going to have an endogenous DMT dump, and you are probably going to have an endogenous DMT experience. I'm just throwing that out there right now. So this is the way it's done, guys. This is the way you do the chakra locks. So I hope that was a little bit informative for everybody when it comes to that. But nonetheless, guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank Don, Spinja, Diana, Michelle, Jason, Kyle, showing up and being here. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. And next week, I don't know exactly what's going on yet. If I don't get a guest or I don't have a plan for a guest just yet, I'm going to ask maybe somebody in the audience who's watching today to be a guest, or I'm going to do another solo show on another topic, because I'm not going to lie, guys, I miss doing these. And potentially in Kyle, what do you endogenous? It's endogenous. So endogenous. So you have exogenous and endogenous. So endogenous is something that you make in your body, right? And then you have exogenous, which is something that you take from the outside of your body. And so when I say endogenous DMT, it's the DMT that your own body makes that's being released. So Tucker. Okay, cool. We'll talk about Tucker, Michelle, for sure. So that's the difference between endogenous and exogenous. Thank you, Spinja. I appreciate that very much. And so I think for season 4, man, we're gonna do a little bit more solo shows. I miss doing these. I miss just sitting here with you guys and chatting and kind of breaking down these topics. We've been very guest heavy in season 3. So, and it's kind of been making me think, sometimes, not all guests, but sometimes things happen, like tonight. Something happens and somebody can't make it. And that's why I do have these solo shows on the back burner that I end up oh, definitely. We can do natural law for sure. I know actually quite a bit about natural law. And Tucker can still come on. That's cool. But nonetheless, guys, we'll figure out what's going on next week. There will be a show. There could potentially be a guest, or it could be a solo show. We're kind of in flux. And then on the 30th of July, I do have a guest that I've actually been talking with for a little bit. She's got a pretty big YouTube following. That's a little bit of a surprise I'm going to drop for you guys next week. But if this is your first time here, please give me a like and a subscribe and a follow. Thank you for joining the BG-Cast family. And of course, guys, other than that, you know what we say here. Stay safe, stay free, have that personal sovereignty and agency, and most definitely stay away from the Japanese sex robots. They are very bad news. Have a good night, guys. Take care.
Collectively together, you were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sync with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hummus the divergent. BG-Cast brings us that Hercules energy. It's here to save the day. You won't stay lost in the dark. Here is your shot with BG-Cast beside you. Can we rise alone?